They're a little upset, don't they? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. And some of you seem kind of shocked by that. Now, of course, there's the obvious double standard here of why are they so upset now when Barack Obama deported more people? Why are they upset now when 56 people died in ICE custody during Barack Obama, but they don't know any of their names? None of them got a protest. None of them he probably even got a mention on the ABC News. CNN didn't have any panels about them. They didn't have groups that were activated chasing ICE around, stopping the deportations of millions. So what's the difference? Well, it's a little more parallel than you might think. Carolyn Levitt, White House spokesperson, yesterday at the press conference was holding up a big printout of a story from a few years ago, and you're not going to believe this. It's the same guy.
This is a Washington Post headline from 9 years ago, 2016. Meet the man the White House has honored for deporting illegal immigrants. And I would remind everyone in this room that it was former President Barack Hussein Obama who awarded a medal to Mr. Homan. So he's obviously very qualified. He has the full trust and faith of the president. He will continue to have these meetings in the hopes that ICE and local law enforcement can cooperate and work together to have successful immigration enforcement, as we've seen in almost every other state across the country.
Okay, that's kind of awesome. Kind of open and shut there. Now the question becomes to you, well, how do they not see that? And how, when presented with this information, do they persist in their belief that this is now Nazi behavior but wasn't then? We had a great caller yesterday. The guy was trying to explain what was going on in his head. It didn't work out. He's like, well, ICE was different then. They were nicer then. It was the same guy running it. Yes, but Obama didn't have them being as aggressive. Well, it was still Tom Homan. Yes, but Obama made the difference. It was just Trump. Well, then why is it only happening in one state? Well, because they're just targeting Minnesota. We've had 10 times as many deportations in Texas. No problems. Well, it's Trump's rhetoric is what he got down to. Okay, so it is. You just hate Trump. He kind of admitted it. I don't think it clicked in his head, but it really just comes down to the hype. They are being hyped up because this is all based on trying to get people to not like Trump. This is all rage because rage gets people to turn out. Now, my first guess is going to come up in the next segment, but we're going to go back in WBAP history here and coming out of the vaults. You might have heard this the first time it aired on this station. This is Rush Limbaugh, February 6, 2014. And he's talking about Evan Sayet, who's going to be my guest coming up after the break here. But he is the guy. He is the best guy who can explain the doublethink that we're all witnessing in real time. And not just about this ICE protesting issue, but about so many other issues. Now, remember, this is a segment from almost exactly 12 years ago. And look at how well it stands up today. Rush Limbaugh on WBAP talking about my upcoming guest, Evan Sayet.
Universal field theory of liberalism, why the mainstream media gets most every story, not just wrong, but as wrong as can be, was the title of a lecture given by Evan Sayet, conservative comedian and lecturer, on January 7th at the Conservative Forum of Silicon Valley. Conservative Forum, Silicon Valley. There must have been 5 people at this. He said, liberals believe it is an act of bigotry to be an objective reporter. Now, I will admit, I find that brilliant. I wish I had come up with it. It explains a lot about trying to understand the drive-by media today. Being objective is bigoted. Why do you think that is? Well, if you're objective, it means you are unfeeling toward victims. You are ignoring the pain. If you don't see the pain, if you don't see the failure, if you don't see the suffering and champion it, then you are worthless. You're a bigot yourself. The modern liberal, there's something about his ideology that leads him to invariably and inevitably side with evil over good, wrong over right, the lesser over the better, the ugly over the beautiful, the profane over the profound, and the behaviors that lead to failure over those that lead to success. Is that not true? It is. Every word of it's true. Mr. Sayet, again, if no religion, if no culture, if no person, if no behavior, if no form of governance, if nothing is better than anything else, then success is unjust. And there it is. If no religion, no culture, no person, no behavior, no form of government, if nothing is better than anything else, then success is unjust. Why should a person, a nation, a government, a religion succeed if it's not better than any other? So liberalism says everything is equally good. Man coexist doesn't make everything meet in the middle. It makes the better bad. Why should a person succeed if that person's not better than anybody else? And a person can't succeed by being better because he's not permitted to be better, because that's unfair. That is itself unjust. So when liberalism, in order to make things right, says that everything's equally good, you can't condemn anything we do. It doesn't make everything equal meeting in the middle. What it does is enable the bad to triumph. And it also stigmatizes the better by making it bad. Failure, as proved by nothing other than the fact that it has failed, is proof positive that some injustice has taken place. Why should a person, why should a country, a nation, a business, why should it fail if it's not worse than anything else? And by the same logic, just by extension, if success and failure are both proof of injustice, then great success and great failure is proof of great injustice. And at a certain point, great and sustained success and failure, such as 6,000 years of Jewish survival, thriving when it's not oppressed, America, the longest surviving, most successful democracy. You wonder why they hate America and Israel most? Great and sustained successes and failure is proof positive not just of great and sustained injustice, but that this injustice is intentional and part of an evil conspiracy. People do not fail because they didn't try. They didn't fail because they weren't prepared. They failed because of an ingrained injustice, an unfair set of circumstances, an imbalance, a rigged game, or what have you. And because this is the case, you cannot say that failure is bad. You can't say that good is better than evil, because good is biased against evil. And that's why you can't be an objective journalist without being a bigot. He compared the liberal view to a game of roulette where no number is better than any other. You can't say the winners are smarter or work harder or better than the losers. It's just pure luck. After the same people win and the same people lose repeatedly, you can see the losers looking over at the winners pile and saying, you didn't build that, which is the manifestation of built up resentment over the fact that success always succeeds. And then at the end of the day, to put this all in focus, who are we to judge anyway? And that's why it's bigoted to be objective.
So we'll talk to the man Rush was quoting there, Evan Sayet, coming up next on The James Show. Why are the ICE protesters like this? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So why do the ICE protesters care now, but they didn't 10 years ago? This is what we're addressing right now on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I brought in my guest who you heard Rush Limbaugh praising in the last segment, and a show that you heard on WBAP in 2014. And just to give you a setup here, look, this lady that's crying over the ICE deporting of illegals now, she wasn't crying 10 years ago.
I've been refraining from posting a video while I'm in shambles. I have been in shambles so much over the past few weeks, and I don't want people defending what is going on to be like, oh, there goes another crazy liberal, there goes a drama queen, or she's a baby or overly sensitive. That's not what I am. I'm a human who doesn't approve of people getting gunned down and shot in the street.
Yeah, well, no one approves of that, but when 56 people died in ICE custody when Obama was president, you weren't crying. You weren't in shambles. Evan, say it. Why? Yes. Well, and I think one of the reasons I like having you on is because I always feel like the people who have digested your unified field theory of liberalism already start out on square two when it comes to these situations, because there's so many people out there, they call into the show, they send me emails and Facebook messages, and they don't understand how or why this is happening. And once you do understand how and why it's happening, now you're ready to respond. Now you know you don't actually have to talk to them and get them to understand why it's good or bad. You just understand this is based on a hatred of Trump, and you can frame your arguments thusly. Yeah, and another thing we document on the James Show is conversion stories, and I find those to be very instrumental and helpful in helping us, kind of speed up that process. How so many people are liberal when they're younger and conservative when they're older. If we could just speed that up, I think that would help our society immensely. But first, there's a degree of listening that we have to do on our part. Well, I also find that kind of optimistic that so many people are just fooled by the media narrative because they're only getting one side, and the overwhelming majority of the reporting from the legacy media platforms just tends to reconfirm the worldview of Team Blue. It feels like if we could just do something about the media, then a lot of these people who just believe what they see on TV will start believing the right thing. All right, we're talking with. Sorry, I was just going to cut in. We got to do a break here. We're talking with Evan Sayet. You heard Rush Limbaugh praising his liberalism theory in the last segment. Coming up next, we're going to ask him, do these people really think ICE is a bunch of Nazis? Do they really think people on Team Red and people wearing MAGA hats are really Nazis? Do they really think that a civil war is on the horizon? Or are they just saying sensational things for voter turnout? We'll talk about that next on The James Show. If you have an opinion either way, 800-288-9227. You can join the conversation as well. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, it's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And these ICE protesters, do they really think they're fighting Nazis? Because you got to think some of them do. The one that got on the building over here, just 4 exits up the highway from where I'm at right now at the Dallas ICE facility, started taking shots at ICE officers, ended up killing 2 immigrants. You got to think he was really fighting ICE. The guys that shot up the Alvarado ICE facility probably think they're actually fighting Nazis. And the guys in McAllen, the dudes throwing bricks. But I mean, where does it end? We understand that there's a fringe that believes the absurdities and are therefore convinced to commit atrocities. But the average person that's on social media saying these guys are Nazis, do they really think we're Nazis? Evan, say it. Yeah, right. Got it. So Evan, say it. Your unified field theory of liberalism explains why they think like they think right now. I think the harder thing that a lot of people just don't understand, and it would if you read the book, but I don't expect everybody to read what is it, like 140 pages or whatnot. Right. You could at least go watch like his 40-minute Heritage Foundation speech that sort of kicked all this off. I think the big problem people have is, like Carolyn Levitt pointed out yesterday, Tom Homan got a Medal of Honor from Barack Obama for deporting so damn many illegal immigrants. He was praised, and it was just 10 years ago. And so you've explained, where the double think comes from. How do these people not see it? How do these people see that, oh, well, Homan got an award under Obama, but he's a Nazi now, but continue in their double think? Ooh. Well, Look, I encourage people to at least watch the video, if not get the book, because the book came out a good 10 something years before this happened. Kentanji.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mhm.
No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
of the word.
So when people heard that, a lot of them were floored. You and I expected it. That was prophesied in the book. All right, that's why I love having you on. Evan Say It, you're a godsend. I appreciate your books and your videos, and thanks for coming on the show. You can find his work, evansayit.com is his website, but if you want to go straight to the book, it's called Kindergarten of Eden, How the Modern Liberal Thinks. And it came out, 15 years ago, but it still applies 100% today. It's on Amazon, SAYET, or if you want to help finding it later, just send me an email. James at WBAP.com or Facebook message. I'll hook you up with him. So your response to that, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Just trying to get in the heads of the people who think deporting people is the same thing as being a Nazi. Because if they really believe that, then you need to rearrange your life accordingly. These are going to be dangerous people. Now, some of them are crazy enough to believe that, but how many are we talking about? Does the average? Of course, the average person out there. I have plenty of friends who are on Team Blue, plenty of friends who vote Democrat. None of them think ICE is literally Nazis or literally Hitler. They'll make sort of cute little allusions or comparisons, but you and I are often just kind of dumbfounded at the doublethink that happens. You're not used to it by now? 800-288-9227. This is Joe in Grapevine. You're on WBAP.
Honor and privilege, James. Outstanding job this first of this year, my friend. I love hearing you this morning. You going to keep doing that or just for a while?
Well, not forever. Thank you very much. But go ahead.
But I love you.
Thank you,
buddy. Listen, as you know, James, in my opinion, this is nothing. They know exactly what they're doing, James. When any of this stuff was going on with Obama, just like you said, they weren't against it. But just because it's Trump, or when there was an assassination attempt, just like you mentioned about their inflammatory language, what did they do? They were complicit, were they not? They didn't say anything. They didn't hardly object to it. Oh, a couple came out. But for the most part, in my opinion, they know exactly what they're doing. Do they have every step-by-step plan? No, not always. Sometimes they're not sure what Trump is going to do. But it's a cover-up, a distraction from all the fraud and abuse. And now this single gate, I heard this when it first came out, an hour at night when this first came out, and then the next day you and others just blew up with it. James, they know they've got to distract optics. They got to come up with these optics as much as they can. They're such fraud. They're such fakes. They're just a bad Mexican soap opera.
A novella, telenovela. Okay, so Joe, good. So this is what I was talking about with Evan. We need to stop being dumbfounded, understand what they're thinking, why they think this way. So whenever they do say crazy things, we're not scrambling to try and figure out what's going on or to reason with them. You can just go to the next step. Okay, these people are crazy. They are following the unified field theory of liberalism. And so what you can do is, you know, you're not going to get upset. You're not going to get angry or even emotional or even confounded and like, I don't understand these people. It's like, oh yeah, another one of these. All right. And then you can quietly sort of do the pushback. Like, what's his name? Scott Jennings on CNN last night. I mean, he has my dream job, Joe, in Grapevine. He's sitting there. There's 4 people at the same table, 5 people at the table. 4 of them agree. The other one is Scott Jennings. And and it's so fun when the truth is on your side to have 4 people try and tell you you're wrong. And listen to how many times his worldview is reframed as a straw man into something he doesn't believe. And he'll come back and he'll correct them a couple of times. But this is so fun to listen to. It's like if there's a bunch of people who are very upset and they're screaming at you that the Cleveland Browns are the best team in the NFL. It's like, well, you can say that and you can have very strong feelings about it, but as loud as you scream, it's just not true. Check this out. You're going to love it, Joe.
Scott Jennings, those comments there from Greg Abbott of Texas, not nothing.
Yeah, look, I don't know what, I mean, some of these are general, and I don't know exactly what they mean by it. I'd be curious to know what they would have the president do. He's in a little bit of a strange situation here because...
Would you have him not do what he just said he's going to do, which is de-escalate a little bit?
I don't know what that means either. I mean, what's a little bit mean? I don't know what that means. I mean, I would just caution all these people. You cannot let an angry mob nullify federal law in a jurisdiction. If
you
they
mean,
do
you
that,
mean the American people?
Is
that what the angry mob is? The American people?
These people in Minneapolis are an angry mob, whether you like it or not. They don't like the fact that the president is enforcing long-standing federal immigration law.
Does that mean they should be shot on the street, Scott?
No,
that's the question that we're talking about, right?
The debate is about what the president's going to do next. And if you were to let them win and you were to be run out of town, what do you think would happen in L.A., Chicago, New York, all over the country?
So you don't think what happened to Alex Freddie was problematic? I mean,
do I think it's problematic? Of course it's problematic.
Okay, was it wrong?
Anytime someone
how far
dies,
are you willing to go?
anytime someone dies, it's problematic. But what they're asking for
is for
federal law
it wrong?
enforcement to be sent out of town.
Is it wrong?
And that no federal laws
Is
be
it
enforced.
wrong?
Was what happened to Alex Preddy on the street wrong?
Was it wrong?
Was it wrong?
I'm waiting for an investigation, which I fully support. I don't know what the circumstances were.
If
I
it
don't
was a
like seeing
Democratic
it.
president in the White House, would you be able
Would
to
I
say
want an
it was wrong?
investigation? Would I want to Of course I would. I don't like that people have died. I don't like this chaos.
I love that. So, Joji, here 4 different times he was interrupted and they were reframing his worldview into something he didn't believe. In fact, nobody believes it's okay that you should be shot in the street simply for disagreeing with the president. But that's not what happened, Joe.
Well, again, thank you, James. That was excellent. They know exactly what they're doing. The media, the entertainment industry, all of these people, they're all together. They know what they have to do, James. Look who's angry. White liberal women. They're still mad about the election.
Yes.
You know that?
Yes.
I've heard other Republican conservative women say what maybe they really think it is, but I won't even say that on the air. But they are just frustrated because he's winning, and he keeps winning, and as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
I'll never get tired of it.
All right. Well, you get it. You definitely get it. 800-288-9227. That's Joe in Grapevine. But listen, for the 20% of you who are Team Blue sympathetic listening right now, you realize, like, when Obama was deporting people, were right-wingers rioting? No, they were not. When Obama was deporting people, were left-wingers rioting? No, they were not. So when Obama was deporting people, no one was rioting. Now that Trump is deporting people, are right-wingers rioting? Still not. We're consistent. But are the left-wingers rioting? Yes. There's your inconsistency. There is no inconsistencies. If there is, something's wrong with your worldview. No one is arguing that moms and nurses deserve to be shot for disagreeing with the president. But that's not a position anyone seriously holds, because that's not what happened. And I think we all know that. But they have to believe that in order to continue their worldview. Orange man bad. Coming up next, these calls for civil war, they sound silly, but this isn't going to happen. This is all going to de-escalate. They're going to move on to the next huge, embarrassing, sensational, whatever tragedy. And this will all be forgotten in a few months. Watch 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Who's afraid of an internet tough guy? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. So on the James Show, we can't help but just roll our eyes at some of these people. They take themselves so serious, and I think they think they look intimidating. They think they look intimidating. They think they look like, whoa, we're sending out a serious message here. And when I said, you need to be scared. Stop it. Let me give you a couple of examples here. This is a guy, Luke7, I think is his handle on TikTok.
Someday everyone will be pretending that they were always against this. Nope. Not if I've got anything to say about it. I'm never going to forgive or forget. You know why? Because there's no room for fellowship with me when you watch videos of people being summarily executed by goon squads and you go, that's all right with me. There's no room for friendship with me when you hear about 6-month-old infants being tear gassed to the point they stop breathing. And what you're worried about is that protesters interrupted a church service because the pulpit's night job was helping the goon squad grab children. There's no room for that with me. As far as I'm concerned, in 20 years, when you're ashamed and you're scared because history doesn't look kindly on fascists or fascist sympathizers, so you lie to your friends and family. You say, I didn't really support it all back then. They should know, because it is an indicator of absolute moral bankruptcy to look around this goddamn country and say, yeah, that's what I support. No, I'm not going to let you lie and pretend that you were always against this. I'm not going to. It's not like a late payment on a credit report. It doesn't fall off after 7 years. I'm not going to forget, and I don't think anybody should.
Yeah, no, we're not actually scared about that, tough guy. We know that you're going to forget. We're not going to forget. Yeah, you are. You forgot that Obama was the deporter-in-chief? Didn't bother you then?
He's been criticized for being the deporter-in-chief, and now a new report reveals that more than 2 million immigrants were deported under President Obama's administration. According to the Department of Homeland Security, 438,421 deportations were carried out by the Obama administration in 2013. About 198,000 of those were migrants with criminal records, but some 240,000 had no criminal records.
Ooh, so scary. Yes, Obama was the deporter-in-chief. Did you forget about that? Did you remember that? You said you're going to remember these things, right?
You know, I'm the President of the United States. I'm not the Emperor of the United States. My job is to execute laws that are passed. And Congress right now has not changed what I consider to be a broken immigration system. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that we have certain obligations to enforce the laws that are in place, even if we think that in many cases the results may be tragic.
Yeah, you forgot all about that. I'm not worried about. Oh, we're gonna forget. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Y'all, you forgot. Obama said things about gay marriage that right now get you deemed as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is in 2004.
I think there are a whole host of things that are civil rights, and then there are other things such as traditional marriage that I think express a community's concern and regard for a particular institution.
So marriage is not a civil right as far as you're concerned?
I don't think marriage is a civil right.
Yeah, you don't remember. You don't remember when it was, 5-6 years ago, and we weren't allowed to go to church? Did you get due process? Were you worried about constitutional rights then? Right to peaceably assemble, freedom of religion? No, didn't. Did you forget about that? Were you screaming about Nazis then? Or was I the bad guy for trying to push back against that? No, we remember. We're not scared. You guys have the worst memory ever. Even if you do remember, still don't care. Still not scared of you. Still doesn't make it wrong. We still need to enforce the laws. And I'm still okay with ICE deporting illegals. And I'm just, remember in the movie Friday, one of the big lines, the big takeaways is bye, Felicia. That's just like now in the natural lexicon. Bye, Felicia. The scene that comes from, I am Smokey in this scene. I remember it. Write it down.
What's up, Smokey? Nothing. What y'all smoking on? Nothing. What you want? Oh, I need to borrow your car right quick. What kind of is that? Most people want to borrow sugar. They even ketchup. You want to borrow my car? Hell no. The hell on. Well, let me borrow a joint. You need to borrow a job with your broke ass. Always trying to smoke up somebody's. The hell on, Felicia. Remember that. Remember it. Write it down. Take a picture. I don't give a. Craig,
Bye, Felicia.
One of the most formative scenes in young Parker's life. So you people out there getting all upset, I'm just not even worried about it. Can't even begin to worry about it. You can call me stupid. You can call me evil. It's not going to change anything.
More and more convinced that whether you support Trump or not is not an issue of left versus right. It is literally an IQ test at this point, and if you still support what this administration is doing, you have failed that test. You are looking at human rights violations left and right, atrocities happening in our streets, masked men pulling women and children and people who maybe aren't documented properly, but also U.S. citizens, out of vehicles violently, out of their homes and schools and churches violently. If you still support that, it's not about immigration law. It's about loving the cruelty of it, feeling vindicated by the mistreatment of others. And that is a condition of the mind that is a sickness, okay? And that cruelty is not, there should be no place for that in our country, in our democracy, in the US. We don't get to have both.
Disagree. Carry on, ICE. Doesn't change anything. We shouldn't have open borders. We shouldn't have wide open immigration, legal or illegal. There's negative consequences to it. You haven't changed my mind. We need to get the illegals out of here. I like the deportations. Keep them going. If we need to hire more ICE officers, then so be it. If they're going to protest, we need to start arresting them. Everyone who impedes an ICE action, they should start getting arrested. In fact, if this guy, Preddy, had been arrested the last time he scuffled with ICE officers and was still in jail, he'd still be alive. Do you realize he had broken ribs from getting tackled during his ICE imposition just a week before? Here's CNN on that story.
CNN is learning that Alex Preddy had a physical encounter with federal agents about a week before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Sources tell a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting. Priscilla Alvarez.
Yeah, so he wasn't just some nice guy that was walking down the street and ICE decided that they were going to execute him for helping a little old lady who fell down and got pepper sprayed. No, he had repeatedly over and over impeded ICE, which is illegal. I could pull up the statute and read it to you if you want. And he finally got negative consequences tied to his very bad decision beyond broken ribs. He already had broken ribs, still making the same bad decisions. My level of sympathy drops dramatically in that situation. Still a tragedy, still wish it didn't happen. May still even be a bad shot. That officer still might have to go to jail for what he did. Doesn't change my mind about immigration or ICE or enforcing the law or getting rid of illegal immigrants. It's just the emotional blackmail doesn't work anymore. Coming up next, State Rep Brian Harrison, the worst guest on the James Show on a regular basis, actually coming in with some good news. Looks like Governor Abbott has put a pause to H-1B visas in universities. I don't think they should ever be turned back on. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. My next guest, usually a terrible guest. I think he's going to be pretty good today. State Rep Brian Harrison coming on. And, just out of habit, I think the studio audience is already a little reluctant. But you've got good news this time. I think we might actually be able to declare a victory for once on the James Show. And this is about the governor pausing H-1B visas in the university system. Brian, pretend like the guy listening to us doesn't know anything about this story, and tell him how we got here. Hey, the next one is February 19th, everybody, just to get it on your calendar. Thank you, sir. Okay, but Brian Harrison, I want to go a step further than that. I think because what I learned in this story is that universities have a special exemption when it comes to H-1B visas. If they say they need an H-1B visa, they get it, and they just have to pay a fee, which is nothing to them because they charge their students $1 billion and they extort the rest from us through taxes. But how just ridiculous is it that the University of Texas at A&M, I love you Aggies out there. My nephew is about to graduate, or I think he just graduated in December. So this isn't antipathy toward Aggie or the Aggie Nation. But oh, that's right. You are an Aggie. So, but check this out. Texas A&M, literally the largest university, has the biggest enrollment of any college in the entire country. You can't tell me they need to import workers. It's like, well, we can't find anybody to fill this job. Why not? You're training them. This is where they go to get trained. If people need job skills, they go to A&M to get them. You are graduating thousands of communication majors, thousands of graphic artists, thousands of athletic trainers every year. You could pick one of them. Well, I try not to exaggerate unless it's for comedic effect here, but it is not hyperbole to say that if you're looking for skilled workers, Texas A&M University is the largest generator of skilled workers in the entire country. They're the last people that should ever need an H-1B visa. Oh, you have some special skill set that's not being filled? Well, why don't you just start a program here for one of your 70,000 students? State Rep Brian Harrison, this is like the Sahara Desert importing sand. Yeah, let's step aside. Can you do one more segment with me? I kind of ran out of time here. Okay. State Rep Brian Harrison, he is your state rep from the Midlothian area. We're going to continue exposing the H-1B visa abuse in Texas universities and talk about the next step. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. So, Governor Abbott has paused H-1B visas for Texas universities. What's next? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Continuing with my guest, State Rep Brian Harrison out of Midlothian. And he just, hey, no, he's being good today, guys. We like him today. It's okay. Stop it. We actually have a victory here. And State Rep Brian Harrison, I don't like the idea that they're paused. This makes me think that they could just be unpaused at any time without any real reform. The other part of skeptical, maybe even cynical, James, is that how does Greg Abbott and the powers that be not know about this already? Are they just pretending like, oh, well, I didn't know this was happening. We better pause this. Well, then let me do the optimistic side. We do the pause now. He doesn't undo the pause before the next session, and maybe we can get something codified, and this will actually be the end of it. That is the ultimate optimistic side of the spectrum. I wouldn't recommend being that far out on a limb, giving the past history with Austin governance, but this feels like something that could be stopped immediately. However, the guy that was doing the report for the Dallas Express, he was on this morning, and I'm going to replay that after we get rid of you, Brian. But he was saying he has another report that's going to show this is going on at Dallas ISD and many other school districts. So it seems the public school system in Texas is the biggest H-1B user, maybe the biggest H-1B user. And these are all jobs that could be taken by Texans. Well, the starting salary for many of these positions between $47,000 and $55,000. And so if you're wondering why you're a graphic designer and your salary's not going up anymore, it's because we're importing thousands of people that they're paying less than you. And so if A&M wants another graphic designer, they don't have to pay $80,000 to get the graphic designer to leave the job that they have now and move up in the world. They can undercut them. And there's no reason for the current graphic designers to ever get a raise because there's not another opportunity where they can go to get more money now that they're being undercut. And the crazy part is you think you do everything right. You go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you get your degree. Computer science graduates now have a 6.1% unemployment rate. That is like almost 2 whole points above the national average. And these are people with degrees, and it's only because they are being undercut with H-1B visas. Hey, we've got 30 seconds. All right. Thank you very much. State Rep Brian Harrison out of Midlothian. Find him online or stick around on the James Show. He'll be back on soon. Thank you very much, Brian. All right, coming up next, I'm going to replay the interview I did this morning with the guy who opened this story up with the Dallas Express. You'll meet Kellen Jones next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. We're just exposing H-1B abuse in Texas universities. And this is on top of the H-1B abuses that are going on in Frisco, that are going on in the tech industry, that are going on in so many other places. This is in addition to the fake daycares and home health care centers. They just can't stop abusing the American taxpayer for the benefit of foreigners. And this just seems so egregious. Like, they had to know this was going on. But the guy that's breaking the story here on the Texas A&M aspect for it, Kellen Jones from Dallas Express, we talked to him this morning. I broke it down into two parts. Here's the first half. Well, hey, Kellen, nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me on. Great to meet you.
Well, Kellen, I'm having you on today because of your awesome reporting on how much A&M has spent hiring H-1B workers.
Great. I'm thrilled to talk about this. If you've seen my recent reporting, you might have seen that Texas A&M spent $3.25 million in fees and other expenses hiring alien labor over the last 5 years. And you may be saying, well, hey, $3.25 million in fees is not that much because we're probably getting Einsteins, right? You're getting the Einstein of Beijing or Calcutta.
Right.
That is not the case based on what we've seen in our reporting.
Yeah. So you were showing some of the job listings that were being filled by people from India, and it's like a communications job. There was like a graphic designer job. It was like an accountant. It's like, you mean to tell me out of a university with 70,000 students, literally the largest university in America, they have to go all the way to India to find the nearest graphic designer?
72% of H-1B visas go to India, and about 12% go to China. A&M has hired about 650 H-1B workers over the last 5 years, and most of the roles they hired for were these low-level instructor roles, most of which did not have tenure. So that's sort of a signal that the person that they're hiring is not the most brilliant person from whatever country they're bringing them over from. And in the case of software developers, you mentioned the communications managers and graphic design, but software developers, they had several applications in with the Department of Labor on this. And software developers face 1 in 4 of them are unemployed or underemployed. And yet Texas A&M had to go overseas to find one.
Yeah, so no one believes that. What's their excuse?
Well, I asked Texas A&M, and they wouldn't respond to us. In fact, there was a lot of chicanery and lack of transparency going on with Texas A&M. They did not respond to our request for comment. And I had to fight for 2 months to get these documents. You may know that under the Texas Public Information Act, when someone requests public records, when a taxpayer requests public records, typically an entity has 10 days to hand them over. After 2 months, I reported the university to the attorneys general and did a story on the fact that we had reported them. And then suddenly the H-1B records materialize. We know now from later reporting from Quorum Report and Bullpen, and the Texas Tribune gave us credit for this, that the day my report dropped is the day that the governor launched his investigation into H-1B. And what we know now is that the governor has ordered a halt for about a year on the H-1B visa program in state entities, such as like the Texas Workforce Commission and public universities.
So do we have reason to believe this could be happening at pretty much every big public university in Texas?
Yes. Most public universities in Texas are hiring H-1B labor, and this is enabled by the federal law. There was a carve-out in the Immigration Act of 1990, and by the way, both Republicans and Democrats share responsibility for that because George H.W. Bush signed it into law and Ted Kennedy helped shepherd it through the Senate. But there was a carve-out in that law that exempts public universities from the H-1B cap. the 85,000 visas that the private sector has to compete for. So public universities, including any public university in Texas, can have just about as many H-1B workers as they want in most cases.
All right, we'll play you the other half of the interview with Kellen Jones, the investigative reporter at the Dallas Express, who is uncovering the fraud, or I guess abuse, of the H-1B visa system at Texas universities. And look, if it's this widespread, if this is happening in secondary schools, in public schools, also in universities, also in the tech industry, some people are looking around saying, is this why my career is stalled? Is this why I'm a software developer who hasn't been able to get a job in the last 6 years? Is this because why are we importing thousands of people here to do these jobs when people with a computer science degree have a 6.1% unemployment rate? We shouldn't be importing hardly any of these people. But this is for all of these jobs. Are you a graphic designer? Are you married to a graphic designer? Are you married to a communications specialist or communications major? Are you married to someone who's an athletic trainer or someone who's in IT? Because if they are not happy with the way that their career has stalled, it very well it's likely that this is one of the primary causes. Why would they get a promotion? Why would they get hired when someone else is going to come in here and do it for half the price? And then they're going to get paid with your tax dollars on top of that. So stick around. The second half of my interview with Kellen Jones on H-1B visa abuse, absolutely destroying the careers of Texans, coming up next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So, how many careers in Texas are being stalled by H-1B visa abuse? I'm your host, James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. We continue my interview this morning with the reporter at the Dallas Express who broke the story on the complete overuse and easily described as abuse of the H-1B visa system here in Texas to undercut Texas workers, skilled Texas workers, with foreigners when it's completely unnecessary. His name, Kellen Jones. We continue now. H-1B visa use at Texas A&M alone is incredibly questionable. And then you extrapolate that out. If this is happening at most public universities in Texas, we're talking about thousands of jobs, taxpayer-funded jobs. Your money is being taken from you and given to someone. They're flown over here, and we just set them up with a salary. At least they're teaching a class or something. It's better than what's going on with the Somali daycare, I suppose, but it's not a whole lot different here. The taxpayers are on the hook for people that are replacing them. These are jobs that you could have. These are jobs that your spouse, your son, your daughter, your brother-in-law, these are jobs that would go to Texans, but now we're subsidizing foreigners to take jobs. Make it make sense, Kellen.
There's a element here. You see it a lot on social media. You see it a lot online to treat the H-1B visa as if it's Nick Shirley's exposés in Minnesota, that there's a Leering Center, if you remember that, the misspelled learning center that set all this in motion, that there's this big secret scam that if someone digs around enough, they'll discover. But that's really not the case. A lot of this is legal, and it's happening right under your nose. Many public entities in Texas hire H-1B workers. The federal government hires them. Local school districts hire them. Public state entities hire them. I have a forthcoming report in a few days about Dallas ISD. They have hired about 1,200 H-1B workers. And let me emphasize that number, 1,200, about twice as many as Texas A&M has hired in the same time period, 1,200 H-1B workers over the last 5 years. And that is mostly, or the largest plurality of applications they put in for H-1B visas have been for bilingual education. Now, you might be sitting there and going, bilingual education. Why are there so many kids in Dallas ISD that don't speak English as their first language? So you can sort of see how these immigration problems feed into each other. You know, there's so many illegal children of illegal aliens in Dallas that don't speak English that we must bring in more legal aliens to teach them to speak English at the taxpayer expense. That's not all entirely Dallas ISD's fault. We'll explore this a little bit more in my forthcoming report, because Dallas ISD under Plyler, a Supreme Court case from Texas from the 80s, cannot deny educational resources to illegal alien children. So they're forced almost to bring in legal alien labor to teach them.
All right, Kellen Jones, why Indians? I understand why we have so many illegal Hispanics here, because geographically they can just walk here. But India, that's on the other side of the planet. Why aren't we bringing in people from Ireland or England or Morocco or Moldova? Like, why India?
The argument you hear, at least on the private sector side, is that Indian labor is desirable because it's so inexpensive. They're an educated country. They do have a higher level of education, but a very low standard of living. So an alien worker from India will accept rock bottom wages. The AFL-CIO did a study a few years ago, and they found that in 60% of cases, the H-1B workers were paid below median for what a similarly qualified American performing that same job in the same location would get. And that's because an Indian worker is not going to expect the basics that an American would expect performing a job. And so that's what makes them so desirable.
What do we do about it?
There's a variety of things. There's several proposals in Congress. Senator Jim Banks of Indiana has introduced a bill that would raise the minimum wage for H-1B workers, which is generally $60,000 right now. It would raise it to well over $100,000. That's a solution. Marjorie Taylor Greene, on her last day in office, introduced a bill that would phase out the H-1B visa over several years. The president could handle this via executive fiat. Immigration is fundamentally in his control, and so he could just choose through several different means to prefer aliens from Ireland, where there's a lot of doctors we might want, or nurses, or German engineers over some of the most alien cultures to the United States. That's in his power, and he could do it tomorrow if he chose to.
All right, you have a report on Dallas ISD coming out soon. When do we expect that? Where do we find it?
I've sent out all the requests for comment, and we've gathered all the data. And so the deadline I have for Dallas ISD is Thursday. So that report should probably run Thursday night or Friday morning.
Where at?
DallasExpress.com.
And there he is, Kellen Jones. Another independent journalist doing work that seems to be just easily uncovered by anybody who's looking for it. Again, independent journalists running circles around the networks. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear Jimmy Kimmel cry on his show about the people who lost their lives in the ICE shootings. And it's weird, number one, because did he cry for any time an ICE or someone died in ICE custody before? And why is that different? But also, isn't that supposed to be a comedy show? Why are you crying? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there. I want to talk to the people right now who are in the process of building or planning for their dream home. This isn't the starter home. This isn't the home that you got in because you just got a new job and the kids are on the way and you got to expand a little bit. No, this is for the people who have finally reached their goals and they can financially put themselves in the house that they've always dreamed about. Maybe you're just building it from scratch. Well, if you are, use Rhino Shield on the outside. You can use regular old paint on the inside. But this weekend was a great example. If you had Rhino Shield, you would have saved yourself a ton of money on heating costs because there's a 6.9 R factor. That's how they measure how well something insulates your house. It's 8 to 10 times thicker than paint. Also, over the weekend, there's a lot of people out there who use boring, old, obsolete paint, and the contraction of their house, the extreme sub-freezing temperature, this is where the cracking comes from. And then when it expands back out, it's just going to start peeling and curling off and flaking on the edges. The people who have Rhino Shield don't have to worry about that. So is it really your dream house if you're cutting corners on the outside? Is it really your dream home if you don't have Rhino Shield? Is it really your dream home if 10 years it's going to look just as nasty as the old house down the street? No, if you're building your dream home, do it right. Spare no expense. Get the best technology we have, and it'll look great, and it'll last longer, and you'll never have to paint your house again. We don't paint our house anymore. We coat our home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Is it even a comedy show? If you're crying, it's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. And this isn't going to be a Jimmy Kimmel hate segment. I almost feel sorry for the people who have adopted this worldview that just makes them miserable. Think about it like this. You go out and you see ICE supporting people and you're like, yeah, that's what ICE does. It's the most normal thing in the world. Other people have been convinced that ICE is deporting people. It's time to freak out. Oh my God, literally Hitler, the Nazis are taking over. We're going to lose all our rights. They're executing moms in the streets. Stop it. Stop it. If that's your worldview, you need to calm down and adopt a new worldview. If you weren't upset about this 10 years ago, why are you upset about it now? But also, you know, you and I have observed how when we were growing up, Johnny Carson was the host of The Tonight Show. And we all remember that. We all remember what it was like. We all remember Johnny Carson being out there and everyone liked him. You didn't know what side of the aisle he was on. Politics, if it did come up, he managed to swim through it beautifully without offending anybody or saying anything extreme. He definitely never cried. You ever remember Johnny Carson crying? You ever remember Johnny Carson lecturing the president on being evil? Talking about elections and like taking a strong side? No. I mean, Johnny Carson went through Vietnam War. He went through Nixon resigning. He went through the Cold War. Managed to keep his nose clean. And today, look, I understand. Jimmy Kimmel has an opinion on politics. We all do. And sometimes if you let it slip through, it's not that big of a deal. But when it gets this bad, it's almost like some sort of pathology. It's almost like a disease. Like, Jimmy, if this is ruining your life, because this is how we measure what is a pathology, especially mentally speaking. You know, like when do you go from being someone who socially drinks to an alcoholic? Well, when this behavior pattern has a negative impact on your outside world. You know, how do you know you're a workaholic? Well, if your behavior is having a negative impact on your well-being. And so here it is, just making himself miserable. But listen, I'm going to play you like 2 minutes of this. I want you to realize this isn't a monologue of what's supposed to be a comedy show. Tell me, do you hear one joke? At the end, you hear people cheering and clapping, but are they laughing? So what happened? Did they just turn a comedy show into a political lecture? And the answer is absolutely.
We see these videos in which we clearly see one of our fellow Americans executed by ICE, and they won't even admit that it was a mistake. They say that the Honda SUV Renee Good was driving was weaponized. They say the gun Alex Preddy had a license to carry in an open carry state. All right, many of these same people screamed very loudly about when it was Kyle Rittenhouse carrying the gun, a gun that Alex Preddy did not even draw, did not touch, a gun that was taken from him by one of the agents before he was shot dead by the other ones. They fired 10 times on an ICU nurse. They're telling us, well, it was justified, you know? Is that the law and order that you voted for if you voted for this? Every day is a nightmare now. My wife and I have family in Minneapolis. They're afraid to take their kids to school. They're afraid to go to work.
Hang on, life's a nightmare now? Is your life a nightmare because ICE is deporting illegal immigrants? Mine's just fine. Are you worried about taking your kids to school? Think you might just get shot in the head for dropping off your kids? Of course not. No rational person thinks that or should think that. And if you do think that, then you have left the Venn diagram of rational.
I can only imagine how people who aren't white feel about this. How does this end? What's the plan here? Is the plan to just keep doing this in every city that didn't vote for Donald Trump? Does anyone on any side believe this is good leadership? We keep saying we need to find subjects that we can agree on. Can we agree that peaceful protesters, including moms driving SUVs on their way back after dropping their 6-year-old off at school, and a nurse who stepped in to protect a woman from harm, don't deserve to be shot dead in the street by the people we are paying to protect us? Can we agree on that? I mean, can we agree that when we see a person murdered in cold blood, that there should at least be an investigation of that? And that our head of, ironically titled head of Homeland Security, has the responsibility to get facts before telling us that what we saw we did not see. I mean, if we can't agree on that, forget it then. This one seems pretty open and shut to me. I think we can agree on this one. It's on video. look at it, do your own research. And then once you form your own opinion without being told what you saw, say something. Where are the reasonable voices on the right? I mean, we don't have to agree on everything, but come on.
Is there a joke coming? Is there a joke in there anywhere? Once you form your own opinion without being told what the thought. Yeah, that's like 20 seconds after you told everybody this is clearly murder. And if you don't believe what you see, then, oh my goodness, he's like doing the thing that he's accusing you of doing. Just the lack of self-awareness. And again, I like Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel is a guy that he kind of has a similar background as me. He used to be like a yuck monkey on a morning show, and he was in radio in Los Angeles, and he kind of worked his way up the radio circuit. Did a little comedy on the side, and then he got picked up by The Man Show. I love The Man Show. I thought him and Adam Carolla were a great partnership. Adam Carolla's gone one way politically. He's gone the other way politically. I don't hate the guy. He's just this worldview that these people adopt. It just makes them miserable. And later on in the monologue, here he is crying. If you're hosting a comedy show and anyone ends up crying, you did a terrible job. But if you're the host of the comedy show and you end up crying, it's not a comedy show anymore. It's just sad.
If our leaders are intentionally creating and encouraging violence and fear, then I hope you will also agree we need new leaders, because these are not leaders. And to the people of Minneapolis, to the Preddy family and the Good family, and these people who were looking out for their neighbors, we want you to know that we are with you and you are not alone. And I'll tell you another thing. We also want to see those Epstein files already.
Oh, yeah. Y'all are really onto the Epstein files. We totally forgot about it for 4 years, but now that it might make the other guy look bad, we're all on the Epstein files. And a lot of people in the comment section under this correctly pointed out that there's a lot of projection here. Like if your leaders have you just so riled up. Remember the beginning of that? Let me play that.
If our leaders are intentionally creating and encouraging violence and fear, then I hope you will also agree we need
Okay, stop. It's your leaders that are intentionally creating violence and fear. It's because it's not a problem with ICE. If it was a problem with ICE, we'd be having problems like this in Texas and Louisiana and Florida and the other 49 states where ICE is operating. If we only have problems in one state, and it's a state where we just uncovered $9 billion in grift, and the governor and mayor and attorney general and all the other politicians up and down the road from Ilhan Omar to Amy Klobuchar, congressmen and senators are all gassing up their people, then the problem is with the leadership of Minnesota. Not in D.C. If it was a problem with ICE or the leadership in D.C., why have we deported 10 times as many people out of Texas than Minnesota, but we're not having these problems? We're not having barricades. We're not having people run around blowing whistles behind them. They just did a big ICE operation yesterday up on 35. Were there any people showing up, blocking them with cars, blowing their whistles, giving them a hard time, cussing them out? I don't know. Sometimes I think people like that, they're well-intended, and they have a chance to wake up. I don't think it's the most likely scenario, but I think it's a likely scenario. Maybe possible, not probable. Jimmy Kimmel could convert. He's not coming at this like with a bad heart or with ill intent. He's just in the bubble, and it's making him miserable. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Did you know that the guy that was shot last weekend by ICE, he had injuries. He had broken ribs from a confrontation he got, a physical confrontation he had gotten in with ICE just a week before? Find out about that next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. And just like all these stories, the longer we get away from the incident, the more and more info that comes out on the backstory, the more it kind of puts things into context. And in the shooting of Alex Preddy by ICE, some people were surprised to learn that he actually had some injuries from a recent scuffle he had with ICE. This is reporting by CNN, Dana Bash yesterday. I don't remember her guest name, but this is them discussing it.
CNN is learning that Alex Preddy had a physical encounter with federal agents about a week before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Sources tell a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting. Priscilla Alvarez is breaking that story for us. What else are you hearing, Priscilla?
Dana, we're learning more details along with my colleague Jeff Winter about what exactly transpired a week before Alex Preddy was shot in Minneapolis and died this past weekend. Now, in this earlier incident, he stopped his car after observing ICE agents chasing what he described as a family on foot and began shouting and blowing his whistle. Preddy later told one of these sources that 5 agents tackled him and one leaned on his back, appearing to leave him with a broken rib. According to this source, and I'm quoting here, that source said, quote, that day he thought he was going to die. Now, Preddy was later given medication that is consistent with treating a broken rib, according to records reviewed by CNN. Sources also say that he was known to federal law enforcement, though it's unclear whether it was this incident or another, with federal agents that they knew of him. It's also unclear whether the officers who tackled him on Saturday knew who he was. What we do know, however, is that federal immigration officers have been collecting personal information of protesters and agitators within the context of what the Department of Homeland Security has warned is repeated threats towards officers as they are conducting immigration enforcement operations. In fact, just Tuesday, the department also publicized an online tip form to share information about people allegedly harassing ICE officers. We've also heard Tom Homan, the White House border czar, say that a database would be created for those who are arrested for impeding law enforcement. But thus far in our queries to the Department of Homeland Security, they have said that no such database exists.
Now there's a video that Internet Ninjas have found from a protest that happened 11 days before Alex Preddy was shot. And when I say protest, it's more than a protest. We need to stop using those words. Because protest is when you stand on the sidewalk and you hold a sign. Once you start blowing whistles and standing in the road and cussing them out and getting in their way, and in this video, he's kicking the vehicle of an ICE agent as it's trying to drive away. And when I say kick it, it's not like he's tapping the tires with the toe of his Adidas. He actually breaks one of the taillights. And when the taillight breaks, the SUV stops. An ICE agent gets out. The guy starts to run away, but he's not I don't want to make fun of him for not being athletic. That's not even the point here, but he's caught quickly and brought to the ground kind of roughly. Now, what we've been saying is in order to minimize the danger, not just for the ICE agents, for the protesters, no one delights in Renee Good dying or Alex Preddy dying. Some of us have less sympathy for them because they keep repeatedly putting themselves into dangerous situations illegally, I might add. It is legal to protest, but it is not legal to impede officers. There are statutes for that. They have names. And so this happens over and over and over. The sympathy kind of dwindles a little bit. But if they had actually given these guys the January 6th treatment, he would still be alive. Can you go up and kick the tail light out of a cop car and then just continue on about your business? Was he arrested? Was he charged with a crime? Did they go easy on him? Was he arrested and charged with a crime and some sympathetic softy judge let him out with no bail or with light bail or no recognizance or a recognizance bond? There's a lot more questions on this. But if they actually enforce the laws as they're written, not just for immigration, but for protesting and impeding law officers in the execution of their duties. Would this guy still be alive? That makes it even sadder. The people going easy on him ended up facilitating his death. That's some heartbreaking stuff. That should make you rethink your position if you're one of these folks that out there, whoa, we're fighting Nazis. We need to get out there and do something. Time for protest is done. Dude, they are getting you killed. You are cannon fodder. You're being thrown into the meat grinder by your political elites. They are using you like the useful idiot. And if you agree to do it, you are a useful idiot. And I don't mean that as a pejorative. I mean the communist term, useful idiot, where they get the sort of woke lib-left guy to agree to do these things on behalf of the elites, not knowing the full blueprint of what's going on. You don't see AOC out there kicking the back of an ICE vehicle, do you? Why? Because she doesn't want to get hurt. She doesn't mind if Alex Preddy gets hurt. Elizabeth Warren doesn't mind if Alex Preddy gets hurt. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't mind if Alex Preddy gets hurt. In fact, that's good for the cause. And look, the polls are starting to show. A new survey came out. Most of Americans think the ICE tactics may have gone too far. Either have gone too far or may have gone too far. That's a majority now. It's working. So what do you want if you want to stop ICE, if you want to win in the midterms? You need about 4 or 5 more of these, and then you're guaranteed to have a great midterm. Do you care if it cost a few people their lives? No. You didn't care if it cost people their lives during COVID when you were sticking sick people in nursing homes and locking them in their house and injecting them with experimental vaccines and new technologies that would never... They don't care about life. They don't care about you. You're being used, protesters. You understand that? You are being used. This is not in your best interest. This is not in the country's best interest. This is only in the best interest of a handful of moneyed elites who are exploiting the taxpayers and your sympathies to gain power for themselves. And somehow we're the stupid ones. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, a couple funny viral videos to get us out of here. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So there's a guy who's a venture capitalist. I think he came up in the tech world and then went into VC, and he's, if not a billionaire, close to it. One of the big political donors in California, and he had spent most of his career spending millions and millions to get Democrats elected. And then in recent election cycles, he's been spending millions and millions for Republicans, and he was doing an interview and being asked about leaving the state. And he's thinking about it. Hadn't made that decision yet. But the part I'm going to play for you here is, I love these stories. What changed his mind? I want you to remember these stories. Every time you see someone on social media having to crash out, people were evil, Nazis, Hitler. Don't hate these people. Understand them and try and convert them. Some of these people are savable. Some of these people may just be a couple of nice nuggets of information away from starting that path themselves. Don't be mean to them. Don't push them away. Don't give them a reason to reinforce their hatred of Team Red. And you end up with beautiful stories like this.
You went from being a large Democrat donor to now a very outspoken proponent on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah.
When you are so influential to other VCs and other people with high net worth here in California, and you really shaped their public opinion and public perception, how did you get there yourself? Was there a moment you woke up and you're like, okay, it's all different?
There was. This is not about politics for me. It's about the truth. There was a moment where I was basically like everybody else and pretty brainwashed. My media diet was very much the same as everybody else's. I read the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. I watched a little bit of CNN, a little bit of CNBC, a little bit of MSNBC, a little bit of CBS. Economist every now and then you encounter it on a plane, and you think you know what's going on. And I had a perception of Donald Trump initially from the moment he walked down the staircase in Trump Tower to announce. And then over the course of 6 or 7 years, I realized that some of those fundamental things that I was told about him were just totally false. And there was enough content online where I was almost afraid, but it started with Charlottesville. I was almost afraid to look at it because I'm like, I think I was lied to. And then I saw it. I saw what he said, but then I saw the portrayal. I had originally believed that portrayal until I saw the truth. And then I just started to go down that rabbit hole. So for me, it was an evolution where I was like, I can't believe I'm being lied to by this group of people whose sole responsibility is to hold truth to power. The key word there is truth to power, not your perception or you think that red pilled me, I guess, in a way.
Red pill story I have in the Audiotron 3000 where the turning point was the Charlottesville hoax. And the Charlottesville hoax is that he said there's very fine people on both sides, including the white supremacists. When seconds later, he's like, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and white supremacists. I condemn them completely. And so a lot of people were passing along the fact that, yeah, he said that they were very fine people, the white supremacists. Well, when you go back and if you have a friend that happens to be on Team Red, a conservative or a libertarian that passes you this video, all you need is that one spark and realizing, well, they're lying to you about this. Are they lying to you about other things? And once you have just the open mind to go look with your defenses down, and not that a lot of people like watch Fox News with the sole intent of what stupid thing are they going to say that I can argue against? Instead of just being open-minded and saying what they have to say. And if you haven't heard it before, this is Trump condemning them.
You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
The other one is the district attorney for Philadelphia, the DA. You remember earlier last month when he told ICE to GTFO? It was the same time Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, told him to GTFO. He did it too. He didn't actually say the word, but this was him.
If any law enforcement agent, any ICE agent, is going to come to Philly to commit crimes, then you can get the F out of here.
All right, so this is him this week. He's got some similar strong opinions for you. ICE. Again, this is Krasner.
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are.
Stop.
In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities. We will find you. We will achieve justice.
Oh, we know. We saw what you people did to the January Sixers. But I love how they're so awesome. They're like GTFO. And it never works out. You never sound as cool as Ari Gold from Entourage when he's firing somebody.
You're fired. And in case your ears are get the out. And the next person I see juggling, tap dancing, or baton twirling, or doing any other circus-like tricks will join him, all right? One strike policy applies. Now get back to work.
That's how you tell someone to GTFO. Love that. All right, stick around. Coming up next, our buddy Mark Levin. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, I'm about to step aside, put up the podcast of today's show. And also, we have a lot of great videos and highlights and clips on social media, Facebook, Twitter, all the things. YouTube has a whole bunch of stuff up there. If you go to the WBAP Facebook, you can see the picture gallery from the very pathetic, although adorable snowman contest that we had over here. There were like 5 or 6 entries. Notice I didn't say 6 or 7 entries. Are we just children about it? Yeah. But it's absolutely adorable. Check it out. Congratulations to the winner of the James Show Snowman Contest. That was Janet in Mesquite. Thank you very much for hanging out. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.